All right, let's dive into something fascinating today. Shilajit Extreme. It's a supplement that comes from the highest mountains in the world and promises to be a game changer for male vitality. But here's the big question. Is this Himalayan powerhouse the real deal, or is there a hidden danger we need to talk about? Let's get into it. So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll go way back to its unbelievable origin story. Then, we'll pop the hood and see what's actually inside its modern formula. After that, we'll look at the real science behind the claims. Then, and this is crucial, we're going to tackle the tough questions about its purity. And finally, we'll put it all together for the final verdict. So what in the world is this stuff? You know, its story doesn't start in a sterile lab. Nope. It begins millions of years ago, literally born from the rock of the world's highest mountains. Yeah, for centuries, Shilajit has been a cornerstone of Ayurvedic medicine. I mean, we're talking about ancient texts that actually classified it based on the minerals in the rock it came from. This iron-rich Lauha type was seen as the absolute best, the most powerful. And guess what? It's the very same type that's sought after for today's high-end supplements. And this is just incredible. I mean, look at how it's made. It isn't grown, it isn't synthesized, it's a product of geology. When the Indian subcontinent crashed into Asia, creating the Himalayas, entire ancient forests got trapped between layers of rock. Then, for millions of years, insane pressure and microbes worked their magic, turning all that plant life into this dense, mineral-packed resin, part plant, part rock, that literally oozes out of the mountains when it gets hot. Wild, right? Okay, so let's fast forward from ancient mountains to the present day. How does that ancient substance end up in a capsule of Shilajit Extreme? Well, it's not just raw Shilajit. It's actually a pretty complex modern formula designed to work together. Now, take a look at this table. The thing that should jump out at you are those extraction ratios. A 30-to-1 ratio for Shilajit. What that means is the 300 milligrams you see there is as potent as taking 9,000 milligrams of the raw stuff. It's super concentrated. And they've combined it with other heavy hitters known as adaptogens, things like ashwagandha and panax ginseng, which are famous for helping your body handle stress. So why the specific combo? Well, think of it like a 1-2 punch against feeling run down. Shilajit goes to work on a deep cellular level, basically cranking up your body's raw energy production. Ashwagandha, on the other hand, comes at it from a totally different angle. It helps your body manage the stress that drains your energy in the first place. One builds you up, the other stops you from breaking down. It's a really smart, synergistic approach. All right, so the theory sounds great, but does it actually work? What does the science, the actual clinical research have to say? Let's get into the hard data behind how this stuff supposedly works. It's magic for male health. Okay, first, a real quick science lesson, I promise. When we talk about energy in our bodies, what we're really talking about is a molecule called ATP. It's the fuel that powers literally everything your cells do. And it's made in these tiny little power plants in your cells called mitochondria. Shilajit's main claim to fame is its ability to help these power plants run better. And here it is, the first big number from a major study. This was a 90-day, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, the gold standard of scientific research. And they found that men between 45 and 55 who took Shilajit saw their total testosterone levels go up by nearly 25% compared to the guys taking a sugar pill. This isn't just marketing fluff. It's a statistically significant result. But wait, there's more. The benefits seem to go beyond just testosterone. Another clinical trial, this one focused on men with low sperm count, found that taking Shilajit increased their total count by an average of almost 38%. That's a huge deal. And this next one, this is the one that really makes you stop and take notice. That same study found a whopping 61.4% improvement in sperm motility, which is just a fancy way of saying how well the sperm can swim. That is a critical factor for fertility. So yeah, the numbers are impressive, right? But, and this is a big but, they are only half of the story. Okay, now we need to pivot. Because for all of its incredible potential, Shilajit comes with a pretty serious and often totally hidden risk. And that risk comes directly from the same place that gives it its power, the mountains themselves. This right here, this is the question that anyone, and I mean anyone, even thinking about trying Shilajit has to ask themselves. Remember, this stuff is literally scraped off of rocks. Purity is not a guarantee. It's the result of very careful and very expensive processing. Because it comes from rock, Shilajit can naturally pick up some really nasty stuff, like toxic heavy metals. We're talking lead, mercury, arsenic, and look at those safe limits. They're measured in parts per million, which is incredibly tiny. If a product exceeds these, even by a little, it can lead to some absolutely devastating health problems over time. This is exactly why you have to demand independent, third-party lab tests for purity. It is not optional.
And just when you thought that was bad enough, recent research has uncovered a new player in this dangerous game, thallium. It's an extremely toxic heavy metal. And the scariest part? Studies started finding it in some commercial Shilajit products. This suggests that some companies with shoddy processing aren't just failing to remove the contaminants, they might actually be concentrating them.
And this brings the risk right to the doorstep of the product we're looking at today. The manufacturer of Shilajit Extreme, well, they've been flagged by the FDA for non-compliance. Basically, they failed to meet some basic regulatory fee requirements. And look, that might sound minor, but it raises huge questions about their oversight, their quality control, and ultimately the safety of what's actually in that bottle. So, where does all of this leave us? We've got compelling scientific data on one side and some very real, very serious risks of contamination and regulatory red flags on the other. What's the final takeaway? Well, first things first, Shilajit is blowing up. The global market is set to more than double in the next 10 years. And for us as consumers, that's a double-edged sword. Sure, it means more options, but it also means the market is about to be flooded with new products, making it even tougher to separate the good stuff from the garbage. And in the end, it really all comes down to this one crucial question. The potential for better performance seems to be backed by science. That much is clear. But the risk from an impure or badly made product is just as real. So it forces you to make a personal call. When it's your own health on the line, where do you draw that line between performance